look, the VA is back in the spotlight for doing a bad job again. In January, 3 clinical psychologists that work with the VA, Catherine Navoni, Edward Waldrop, and Nina Selander, they penned an op-ed detailing their concerns about the new gender policies being pushed by the VA from the Biden administration. This is all stemming from a 2018 Internal Equality Act garbage. Now, the writers of this op-ed saying that the Biden administration was, quote, injecting concepts of gender ideology into clinical work. See, this is a huge problem with the whole gender movement, I find. We talked about this yesterday, about women getting injured by biological men, physically injuring women in the sports that they're now allowed to compete in as women. I mean, this is just as bad. The VA is now allowing men who identify as women to room with and share accommodations during treatment for sexual assault. Yeah, it's that insane. One of the psychologists noted in the op-ed that, quote, single-sex spaces within the VA, those ensuring bodily privacy, such as bathrooms, exam rooms, and medical exam areas, can now be accessed by males who identify as women. 3 doctors. I can't specify how good their qualifications are here. They went on. Together, the 3 of us have combined 44 years of professional experience, much of it focused on sexual trauma recovery. We know that the perpetrators of sexual crimes are usually male. We view the VA policy as a betrayal of our female patients. Well, Caroline Downey, who's joining us in just a sec, she broke this story last night saying, quote, exclusive, the Biden administration punished a clinical psychologist after she publicly opposed a trans policy that allows men into women's medical spaces at the Veterans Administration. As a result, the doctors who actually care more about their patients than they do about social justice, one of those psychologists was suspended simply for raising the issue. I'm sorry. Is the VA a taxpayer-funded entity to the tune of like almost $300 billion? Is their job to serve woke agenda or actual veterans? I mean, especially considering that the military has over a double-digit increase in sexual assault recently and less convictions every year for the same crime. It's amazing to me that people actually want national health care run by the same government system as the VA. This is insane. This is just the latest example, though. These types of DEI junkies, they're embedded everywhere. Waldrop, one of the shrinks speaking out, was cited, quote, veterans say they feel dismissed by VA psychologist. A psychologist recently hired in Waldrop's department, bragging her favorite pastime is, quote, dismantling the patriarchy. Well, look, if you believe that, then maybe the VA isn't the place for you to work. People join the military, and even outside the sexual assault realm, especially veterans with serious trauma from seeing some real-world stuff. When you've dodged bullets and you've watched your friends get killed next to you, DEI is not even in the top 100 things that you care about. You come into a shrink's office because you have some demons, folks. I'm speaking on first-hand account here, all right? Do you have any idea the stress you endure from killing people? Let me tell you how dark a place that is. Some of these people who seek help from the VA are ready to kill themselves. The VA is no one's first choice for care, but sometimes it's all people have, so they go there. We've seen up to 22 veterans a day killing themselves. I've had more than a dozen of my friends either try or succeed in committing suicide over the last decade, and this VA wants to prioritize DEI? No. You come into a shrink's office because you can't sleep, because you're having nightmares, because you're paranoid about driving past a trash can on the side of the road because you're conditioned to think that it's an IED. I've been there. Coming back from deployment sucks. It is really hard. I was fortunate enough to adjust pretty well. But when I'm sitting there in that chair talking to someone so I can get more than 30 minutes of sleep at a time before I wake up in a cold sweat, the last thing I want to hear is about some social justice struggle or oppression or whatever dumb stuff they come up with on a PowerPoint slide. I mean, my God. The craziest thing about this whole scenario is that in every circumstance, every single circumstance, they never change the bad policy. They just always punish the people who brought it to light. Because the VA and just about every other government structure will always protect the institution above the interest, above all else, all the people that it was designed for, paid for by, and sworn to help protect. It's absolutely pathetic.